Excellent. Okay. So it is now 6:31 PM and we have a couple of meetings on the agenda. So I'm going to jump right in and call the first meeting, which is actually a public hearing to order. For the record, this is a public hearing. Today is Monday, July 15, 2024. We have council members attending both remotely and in person. So for the record, we have Councilman Waldron, Councilman Iveyne, Councilwoman Spino, and Councilwoman Ruette in the auditorium with us. And I see Councilman Oliver is participating remotely. And before we go into the public hearing, could we all please stand and pledge the flag? Okay, so as I said, this first item this evening is a public hearing for the purposes of soliciting citizen input regarding the proposed revisions to Chapter 170 of the Code of Ordinances Sewers. Before we open this public hearing to the public, could we have the legal notice read into the record, please?
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Councilmen of the City of Torrington will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 15th, 2024, starting at 6:30 PM in the City Hall Auditorium, 140 Main Street, to solicit public comment regarding proposed changes to the city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 170, entitled Sewers. The full texts of the proposed revisions are available to the public online or in the office of the city clerk. The public may attend in person or by Zoom and will be granted up to 3 minutes to comment. Written comments may be sent by email to city_clerk@torringtonct.org or by mail to 140 Main Street, Torrington. Written comments will be forwarded to the Board of Councilmen in advance of the public hearing. All persons are invited to attend and be heard, dated at Torrington, Connecticut, the 9th day of July, 2024. Carol Anderson, City Clerk.
Thank you, Carol. All right, so we're going to open this right up to for public comment. I believe the modifications had been reviewed by, the ordinance subcommittee, presented at the last council meeting, available online. So I'll open it up to the public. Are there any comments from the public with regard to Chapter 170 Code of Ordinances? Because this is a public hearing, I do have to call this 3 times. So I'll ask again, is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the Board of Councilmen with regard to Chapter 170 Code of Ordinances? Final call. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board regarding the ordinances, Chapter 170? Seeing and hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. I will declare the public hearing closed. Public hearing is closed. It says adjournment. I don't think I need an adjournment, do I? Okay. All right, we'll move into the next meeting, which is the regular meeting of the City Council and WPCA. For the record, still Monday, July 15th, 2024. It is now 6:35 PM. We'll move right into item number 1. I will take, this has to be a roll call vote. I'll entertain a motion by the Board of Councilmen to adopt the proposed revisions to Chapter 170 of the Code of Ordinances, subtitled Sewers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruette.
I will second.
And second by Councilman Iveyne. So a motion is made and seconded. Are there questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll call the roll call vote, starting to my right. Councilman Waldron,
Yes.
Councilman Iveyne,
Yes.
Councilwoman Spino, Councilwoman Ruette,
Yes.
and to the Zoom room, Councilman Oliver?
Yes.
Thank you. So that's
Welcome.
unanimous. All right, item 2, I'll entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public in accordance with Section 4, subsection E of the City Council and WPCA meeting rules of procedure.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Spino, second by Councilman Iveyne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to the public. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the council on any other matters? Seeing and hearing none. I'll move into item 3. 3A, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special joint meeting minutes with the Board
Move
of Finance.
A, B, C, and D.
A, B, C,
They're all the
D.
same date.
Okay, good. So I have a motion to approve 3A, B, C, and D. These are special joint meetings, public hearing meetings, minutes, and regular meeting minutes, all having occurred on June 17, 2024.
Second.
And a second. So a motion made by Councilman Waldron, seconded by Councilwoman Ruette. Are there questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That only leaves 3E. Do I have a motion to accept the special joint meeting minutes? Thank you. I heard Councilman Waldron, seconded by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments on those? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to execute and amend the firefighters union contract agreement between Local 1567 IAFF, AFI-CIO, and the City of Torrington dated July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2027, as further explained in the Director of Human Resources memo, which is dated July 11, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you. I heard Councilwoman Ruette, seconded by Councilwoman Spino. The floor is open if you've all read the memo or if you have questions. I see that our HR director is here. Thank you, Denise. Any questions or comments? And the only thing that I wanted to add for the council's information, this was a departure from our normal negotiations where, you know, everybody lawyers up and we have a number of meetings. Denise Karpewski, our Director of Human Resources, suggested that we sit down with the union leaders and just see where everybody is. And if we weren't on the same page fast enough, you know, we could always adjourn and move to the traditional way of negotiating. It was very highly successful. And I think credit goes to the union members and to Denise for having the courage to venture into a new way to do these things. Easier and friendlier, if that's not an overstatement. All right, if there are no questions on the contract, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the mayor and treasurer to transfer funds in accordance with the memo dated July 10th, 2024, and approve the allocation of the proposed expenses for fiscal year 25.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Spino,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Waldron. All right, questions?
So the projected revenue for election was,
175,000?
well, that's what we ended up getting.
So, yes.
Or I thought it was less.
No, so what we ended up getting last year was 178,976.
Right.
I think this is always going to be one of those, depending on the year, depending on how many retail establishments there are, you know, we're guessing. Because the mandates are that you must spend this on any one of the 6 approved items, that if we do a really good estimate of what we anticipate for revenue, whatever isn't spent, we can then, just as I'm proposing in this memo, take any surplus and sink it into a non-lapsing cannabis revenue account, which can be spent at the direction of the council. So I know during budget adoption, and I'm looking at Erica as I say this, during budget adoption, I know that we checked in with the treasurer a number of times just to gauge his comfort level on where we were. So starting in April, you know, he was giving us the monthly report on what revenue was, and we were anticipating 175.
Okay. know,
Mayor,
it's off
can I-
topic, but I'm just curious, planning and zoning typically does the approval of, or the citing of
Yes.
these requests. Are we, is there a limit?
By state statute, we're limited to two. Unless they reduced or eliminated that cap. I'll have to double check. I'll check with Jeremy Leifert.
Yeah,
But the original legislation, we were limited based on our population to two. And then there was an amendment after that. I'll double check.
okay,
We do have two, by the way, currently.
right. I'm hoping we don't increase that number, I guess.
Mhm. Yes, I know.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd just like to ask, can you give us a synopsis of the process to determining the beneficiaries of this? Are they going to be repeated year after year, or do you rotate them through? And even selecting the committee, just give us a review of that.
So, because we are so restricted in ways that we can spend this, the agencies or entities that qualified under this, and these agencies, entities were paying pretty close attention during the legislative session. And then when the city through planning and zoning had to decide whether or not we were going to allow cannabis retail to happen in our community. So they had solicited letters. I believe all those letters are here as part of what was provided. So everyone that requested, fortunately, all together totaled about 175,000. Right off the top, the Youth Service Bureau was an easy selection because, as you could see, it specifically targets youth service bureaus. PAL, another one last year, I believe PAL requested $15,000. This year they came back, they're revamping a lot of their programs and requested 50,000. And because we were looking at that bump from 100,000 last year to 175, I was able to provide the council with all of the requests at their full amounts. The only request that I think got funded at a little less than what they were requesting is the gathering place for homeless services. They requested whatever we could give, so I just took the balance of what was left on 75. But I would recommend that during the budget adoption, that this be the process, that any requests that come in for funding, if it exceeds 175,000, the council would then make the decision as to how they wanted to allocate it. In the past, when we had stipends, funds available, if it exceeded the amount that was available, we would usually award those stipends based on the proportions.
Is there any follow-up after the fact, just as, you know?
So the follow-up for fiscal year '24 was pretty easy because it was only the Youth Service Bureau, which is a statutory grant match. Very easy to get a report back on what they've accomplished with the funds. And then the 15,000 for the Torrington PAL program between Summerfest and their sports programs. It was really easy to follow where they had spent that money.
Okay.
But we can certainly, mid-year or close to the end of the year, ask all of these to come back and provide the council with a report, how the funding was used and where it was most effective.
Sure. And it's always good to have a victory lap too.
It is, I agree.
Finally, notification of this revenue being available, similar to what we did with the ARPA grants and did the MOU with Community Foundation.
Mhm.
I mean, if we're going to continue to get this large of a revenue, I think it should be competitive and with a notification to, because there are so many of these organizations that, could use additional funds to, do prevention.
Yeah.
So it's just a thought, that pops.
No, I do agree. I like the idea of there being a competitive application process. I think the reason when I looked at these requests, the mental health and addiction services, Through the opioid settlement funds, I felt there was a different funding mechanism for those. You know, I didn't, not that I was soliciting any requests from them. The services for individuals living in the municipality that were released from the Department of Corrections custody on probation or parole. You know, I think what we'd have to do is, instead of doing a blanket request for expressed interest, you know, we could probably target those agencies within Torrington, because this is the other thing. These have to be specific to the city of Torrington.
Oh, no, I totally agree. And
Yeah.
but I do think
A process
the
for
process.
solic,
of
okay,
RFP process or, even, similar to what we did with the ARPA money. We did the MOU with the Community Foundation to process, the requests for these monies. I mean, it's a lot of money,
75,000. Yeah.
175 when we only anticipated 100. So.
in year one. And
Year
year
one.
one being the first year that we were collecting, we really had no idea
Right.
what to anticipate. And so I would ask back to you, is it your thought that we should engage like the Northwest Community Foundation? It's only 175,000
If
versus
it
the,
grows, if this money grows, which, I think it would be worth having that conversation.
what would be the benchmark? You know, because we paid a percentage of those proceeds to the
Right.
community foundation.
Right.
And when you only have 175,000, I'm not sure that you want to provide 10% of that to another
Then-
agency.
And if not through the Community Foundation, that there be a process, there'd be an RFP, that a committee, a subcommittee of the council members and, be a part of.
Excellent. Okay. What I'll do for the next meeting is I'll pull together a process.
And it could come out to be the same organizations. I'm just saying it,
Definitely. Yeah.
would feel better, have more
Yes.
competitive.
Are there other funds that would be treated the same way? Could we group them together and, have Community Foundation manage it like that? So it's more than just this.
So the only other funds that we received, that are state mandate. So the cannabis revenue, as you see, these are the 6. These are the spending guidelines. Opioid money, entirely different spending guidelines.
Hmm.
The NIPS, the 10 cents on those nip bottles, entirely different spending mechanism.
Hmm.
So the answer is yes, there are other funds, but none of them fit this mold. Each one is pretty well defined. I would agree. I mean, if we had several $100,000, I would say them, maybe a competitive process that engaged, an organization that's accustomed to handling grants. But $175,000, as you can see, these are organizations that have been, in the city for decades. And right off the top, I would tell you, every year you can expect to see the Youth Service Bureau funding in here, at least the statutory formula portion of that. So, so right away, there's, it's always going to be reduced by that $36,000 for the Youth Service Bureau. But let me put together some proposals for a process specific to the cannabis revenue. And then the council can give us guidance as to what's the tipping point? How much do you want to recommend that it be turned over? With the community foundation, we had almost $4 million we were trying to hand out.
No, I realize.
Vastly different
Hmm.
than 175, which automatically off the top, you're going to fund your Youth Service Bureau. When I look at the gathering place, another, low-hanging fruit, those are the easy, the easy choices for council to make. So I'll put together a competitive, a more I shouldn't even say competitive, a process I think that the council can adapt. So always going forward, it's always going to be the same process. We'll start it early enough in the year, so by the time the budget is adapted, the council would be able to decide how much is going to be embedded in that budget for these purposes.
I know you always like to, I was just a conversation, that.
I appreciate it. No, I agree. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a little bit of a policy freak. I like it when I know where the guardrails are. So, any other questions? So just for the record, for anybody that's tuning in, because we only budgeted $100,000 last year, having no idea what to anticipate, and we ended up with 178,000. We spent between the Youth Service Bureau and Torrington PAL 47,000, almost 48,000. So 131,000 and change is going into a non-lapsing cannabis revenue line item. And the proposal for this would be to earmark it for streetscape improvements. Now, these could be park improvements, streetscape improvements. So that 131,214 is the first bite, and then the second bite for the surplus is the $7,372. That technically falls outside of the mandated tax revenue spending plan. Those are penalty and late fees that the treasurer was pretty consistent in trying to collect. Those will just devolve or default to the fund balance, because those really almost, they only happen because of the administrative efforts outside of this tax revenue that is statutorily driven. And then the spending of the 175. So there's really three pieces of this that are being approved. Other questions? If not, I'm going to call this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to item 6. I need a motion to adopt resolution number 143-249, establishing a re-roofing project at the Torrington Middle School and establishing a building committee, naming Board of Education Director of Facilities, Dean Pergola, as a committee of one, authorizing at the very least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the proposed project, authorizing the filing of grant application, which is State of Connecticut Form ED-049. This is for the total project, which is estimated to be $4,431,152.13. That's one heck of an estimate. And authorizing City of Torrington's cost share of approximately 25% after-school construction grant reimbursement to be funded through a $700,000 authorized bonding, which was reauthorized on November 2nd, 2021, and the balance of the bonded project funds from Phase 1 of the TMS roof repairs, which are currently held in Fund 320.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilman Waldron, second by Councilman Iveyne. Questions? Now, this was tabled, as you will recall, from when it was presented.
Yeah, reading the notes from that meeting, Councilor Cavanero asked who will be asked to ensure the roof is built to specifications, who will be held accountable if the roof fails or isn't built correctly. Yeah, and that's his reasoning for tabling the vote previously.
Okay. So Dean is here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to defer the questions to him.
So it's Gale Associates right now is in the design engineering who we hired. They're in a planning, they completed the planning. They went through a whole design of this, testing and engineering, and to see what the best option was. The best option was to do an overlay of this roof that's going on top of that. And all this has been done in the past, and approved, I think, to this point. Once they're done with their design, which they're done with their design now. Now they're just putting together some plans, specifications to go out to bid. So once it goes out to bid, you know, it's an open bid for qualified contractors to come in and to bid it. So as far as who's responsible for it, it's lies on the contractor installing it, the engineer who's designing it, which is Gale Associates, much like any other construction project.
Okay. I think there's a lot of history with this roof specifically that, you know, was leaking since it was newly built. And I'm assuming that's being rectified in this.
Well, I think, right out of the box, I think it's, that was the catalyst behind all of this, and I think they recognized what the failures were, very explicit failures that were, some happened right away and some took a while to come to, but it comes down to, a product that probably wasn't the best to be used. So now I think with this, with the data that they have and the expertise that Gale has, I feel very confident that the system that's going to be installed is going to be something that's going to be worth our while.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Dean before he takes his seat? None. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right, then I'm going to call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract agreement for miscellaneous locksmith and door repairs to DRF Locksmith Specialties LLC of Thomaston, Connecticut. Funding for these services will be from multiple facility maintenance accounts, as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 9, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second by Councilman Oliver. Are there questions or comments?
Just, have we been using a locksmith like this service all along? And is this just a new contract renewal?
Hello. Not really. We only use the locksmith if there's major issues with stuff. So the problem is we have quite a few doors now that are failing. Key sets need to be changed out, and trying to get multiple quotes is nearly impossible. So I figure go out, get somebody on call. DRF has been doing general repairs for the city for years here and there. So now this is just going to make it official, or they'll become our go-to locksmith. And we're
Yeah.
trying to get to one key for the whole city. So this is kind of in par to get to that.
Okay. Are locks becoming just increasingly complex in that respect?
Yeah, and if you call 5 different locksmiths, you'll get 5 different types of keys.
Ooh.
So we're trying to standardize on one key set for all and stop having 50 different types of brands everywhere. Every building has some kind of a different key. So this will kind of get us all to one now where we should be for a municipality.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So,
Hope so.
thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, I'll entertain a motion by the city council here and acting as a water pollution control authority to approve the payments listed from Fund 490 sanitary sewer capital improvements.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, seconded by Councilwoman Spino. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, I'll entertain a motion by the council acting herein as a water pollution control authority to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract for the purchase of activated carbon for odor control for the WPCA plant to Vel International of Nokomis, Florida, in the amount of $14,700. Funding for these services will be from the chemicals account, as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 9, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, and second by Councilwoman Spino. Questions?
Do we get to pick the scent?
I'm going to call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract for the purchase of a rotating grapple attachment to Berry Equipment Company, Inc. of South Windsor, Connecticut, in the amount of $60,400. Funding for this purchase will be from the Streets Capital Project account, as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Councilwoman Ruette, second by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments on the motion?
Yeah, what does this do?
Yeah, this is an attachment, it goes on the end of the excavator. We take the bucket off and this goes on. It's for picking up brush and trees. We can also use it for blight cleanup and save all the handwork of doing that. So that's
Okay.
what that's for.
So we are replacing an existing one with this one?
We are not, this is new and it's a quick disconnect, so we can take it off, put the bucket back on. It's something we wanted for Storm Isaiah, and we couldn't find one at the time because everybody else grabbed them before we did. So we're gonna make the purchase before a big storm, hopefully.
Okay. And so you're going to realize lots of efficiencies with this tool?
And I think keeping people from getting hurt too.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
All right, quick question. Why didn't we go with the low bid?
Didn't meet specs, and we couldn't figure out what the specs were because what they gave us for specs was in Italian. So we couldn't figure out, we tried to put it together, but, and then there was extras. They put extras on whether our machine had certain parts and, you know, it was part of it to be all included. So they had extras on there.
Other questions for Tim? Thank you. I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, network infrastructure upgrade as presented. And I think I saw Jerry Crawley on the call. Do we have any presentation for this?
Thanks, Carol.
Jerry, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yes.
Did you want to speak?
Yes, I just want to say that we are in the process of upgrading all the network switching across different buildings across the city. The last upgrade we did was back in 2014, so this is the next upgrade in that line. Same type of equipment, Cisco equipment, which has served us well over the last 10 years.
All right, so it's, I haven't called for a motion yet. I'm not sure what to call for a motion here. Carol, you said you emailed this to everybody this afternoon?
It's a network infrastructure upgrade. What you're asking.
Okay,
I read the whole 94 pages.
good. I'm glad somebody did.
Okay.
Well, essentially, we went out to bid and we had two vendors that responded, and of the two, Total Communications is the lowest lowest cost, you know, for a solution that gives us 5 years of warranty and maintenance coverage.
There's an amended agenda. That's all right, yeah. Okay. So the motion we'd be looking for is a motion to accept the IT directors and purchasing agent, and I do see that Penny is here in the back row. Recommendation to authorize the mayor to award a network infrastructure upgrade contract to Total Communications, Inc. of East Hartford, Connecticut for $144,187.06 as described in the purchasing agent's letter, which is dated July 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruette.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Spino. And the floor is open for any questions. If you're speed reading that 94 pages.
Hmm. Where are these switches and access points that are indicated here? Are they throughout the city or?
Yeah, throughout the city. The majority of them are at City Hall. In all the IT closets in City Hall. We also have devices at Park and Rec, Street Department, Senior Center, North End Firehouse.
And is the issue we're addressing capacity or aging issues?
Aging. The devices are, like I said, they're 10 years old, and it's time to replace them. And technologies have changed. So we're getting new equipment with better functionality.
Other questions for Jerry? All right. If there are no other questions, motion's been made and seconded. I'll call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right, item 12, entertain a motion to extend the current contract for tree trimming and removal services for fiscal year 24-25 at the same price and terms as the current contract to Esplend Tree Expert Company of Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Councilman Waldron, seconded by Councilman Iveyne. Questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to execute the general services agreement and all future task orders for the extension of the current contracts for on-call engineering services with VHB, that's Vanass Hangen Bruslin, Inc. of Weathersfield, Connecticut, and SLR International, this is formerly Malone and McBroom, of Cheshire, Connecticut. This is, has been further explained in the city engineer's memo dated July 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron,
Second.
and second by Councilman Iveyne. And are there questions?
Now, how long have we used this service previously?
You're at the end of a 5-year term right now. So we've used both these contractors for the last 5 years.
Now, I think we've experienced some issues with asphalt in the past, like Highland Avenue. Was it the incorrect grade was used and that had to be redone? Was this type of service reviewing that type of job, or can you explain to me what the engineering service is, and are they just reviewing in advance, or are they throughout the process?
So right now we use VHB for our asphalt quality control and assurance services. So they will monitor the asphalt as it's being placed on our road reconstruction contracts. They also will sample the material at the plant and on the site, and then they also analyze core samples. We'll actually take a sample of the finished product and analyze that for certain parameters like compaction and what have you. So we've been using them pretty much for the last 5 years on all our road projects, and those results from those tests also impact the what the contractor gets as far as payment. So if the tests are bad, they're penalized, and if they're good, well, it's just really penalties that that they could be subject to. So very good quality control that we have with VHB. They also helped us write our asphalt specifications, and so they've been invaluable for making sure that we have good quality product
Okay.
on all our roads, and that included Highland Avenue too. Yeah.
Okay, so you feel confident in their services?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
very much so.
thank you, Paul.
Other questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the Public Works Director and Purchasing Agent to utilize the attached national, regional, state, and local competitive bids for the procurement of goods and services as further explained in the Public Works Director's memo dated July 8th, 2024.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Thank you. I heard Councilwoman Ruette and Councilman Waldron. Questions?
Have we used a similar service like this in the past?
Absolutely. These are presented on an annual basis. The list changes, you know, a little bit here and there, year to year. But we use it for example, for asphalt. ONG is on the state contract for asphalt, so it allows us to purchase. You know, we purchase hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on asphalt. You know, as well as, you know, other service. There are some newer ones this year on some of the police that we consolidated because they had presented, like the ballistic vests was previously presented. It is a state contract. So the, you know, short answer to your question is yes, we present this every year. It's the same format. The list changes each year.
Okay, are they mostly weighing in on pricing, competitive pricing?
It's competitive pricing. You see the majority of the contracts are state of Connecticut DAS contracts. So some contracts will have multiple vendors that submitted price. Some contracts will only have one vendor. And then you have like national cooperatives that have hundreds of vendors. But they're all bid, generally it's based upon qualifications and the price that was presented in the bid.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ray.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, item 15, I'll entertain a motion to extend the current bid contract for the fertilizing of the athletic fields and the city parks for fiscal year 24-25 to True Green Limited Partnership of Rocky Hill in the amount of $49,635.43 to be paid from the park maintenance account as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 10th.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruette.
Second.
And second by Councilman Iveyne. Are there questions on this motion?
Is this type of fertilization necessary? Are we looking at our parks being brown if we don't do this?
Well, I know the baseball players would like to see it green.
They always like to see it green. Yeah, we started this last year and I think there's been a huge improvement in the parks and we're looking to continue it. They actually come in early in the spring and they aerate the soil from the constant compaction from playing. And it starts there and then we move on to seeding and fertilizing and then they do it in the fall also. So there's a whole program and we're very happy with them.
Okay, so good results. and
I
you've
believe
witnessed
it's been excellent. I am sure the feedback up this way has been good too.
this. Okay,
I think it's an important component
I
with
do
the use the fields are getting.
great. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thanks, Tim. All right, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract for the purchasing of one finish mower from CN Wood Enviro LLC of North Haven in the amount of $18,765. Funding for the purchase will be from the streets capital projects account as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated July 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, seconded by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments?
I was hoping to see a picture of it.
I actually know what a finishing mower looks like. Scary.
Really?
No, I mean, it's just, if you've been in any kind of farming, you would know.
Okay.
I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget transfer request for fiscal year 23-24 as further described in the manager of budget's letter dated June 29, 2024. This is pending Board of Finance approval.
So motion.
Thank you. Councilman Iveyne,
Second.
second by Councilman Waldron. Are there questions on, and again, this is 23-24, the year we're closing out.
Okay.
Questions?
Can you just talk us through just a overview synopsis of moving the monies between these accounts?
So as the mayor explained, these are 23-24 budgeted items. When the budget is adopted, there are certain line items that are automatic transfers. What had ended up happening, there was some turnover in the finance department. So as we were kind of going through and trying to close out 23-24, we realized that some of these budgeted transfers were just never made. So that's what this is.
Will we make auditors happy?
Yes.
That's a good goal.
That
We'll
was
have
the
them
goal.
sooner for fiscal year 25.
Okay.
So, and if I can just piggyback off of that. So during that budget adoption process, especially where there are funds that are going into reserve accounts, traditionally, right after the budget is adopted, we like to move those funds right into those reserve accounts.
Okay.
This did not happen, so we're closing that loop. If there are no other questions, I'm going to call this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Then moving into item 18, I'll entertain a motion to release the liens listed in the Corporation Council's memo dated
So
July
moved.
15th. Thank you, Councilman
Second.
Waldron, second by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 19, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the tax collector and authorize the tax refunds indicated in the list.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, second by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 20, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the tax collector and authorize the sewer use refunds indicated in the list.
Moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, second by Councilman Iveyne. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruette, second by Councilwoman Spino. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm going to start with Corporation Council. Is there anything that you wanted to add this evening?
No, no report.
I have a room full of department heads. So, Mr. Drew, anything you wanted to add this evening? Mr. Drew, yeah, I know. Ray, anything to add?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Towsey? All right, Mr. Cody? No, not at all. Penny, anything from purchasing? No? And Denise, anything from HR World?
Just one thing. I realized speaking with Steve this evening that in my cover letter to the council, I did not mention anything to keep board work executive trip. And I wish to do that at this time. Very integral to, in the background, although they were not sitting at the table with the mayor and I, their input was integral to our success. So I would like to express my gratitude.
Thank you, Denise. Jamie, anything? All right. Well, Dean, you're in the room. Is there anything from BOE facilities that you want to add? Nothing? All right. Erica, budget. Carol. I know, really, we're on a roll. All right. Then let's move on to item number 22. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron.
Second.
And second by Councilwoman Spino. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, start with Mr. Oliver online. Anything this evening?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ruette.
No, Mayor, I have nothing. Thank you. Hope
Councilwoman.
everybody survives the heat.
I know. Councilwoman Spino.
I have a couple things.
Fire away.
A few months ago, I asked about blight. I was wondering if we can get another update on where we are with blight.
Sure.
Anything in particular?
Nope.
Well, the Blight Task Force, has been pretty active.
Mhm.
you know, the big ticket items, of course, the peddler. um, eh, So we're due back in court. I think that's on July 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And again, that's the date, the new date when the Jason Hospitality is supposed to have a commitment for financing. There was an email that we received from one of his attorneys, because we were told there was a credit committee meeting at Hanover Bank where they're trying to get their financing a week or so ago. And we were supposed to be in court a week or so ago, but the other attorney had COVID. So they asked that it be continued. So we agreed to that. And what they told us was that the credit committee was meeting that morning. And when we followed up later that day and into the next day, what did the credit committee do? They determined that, they said that the credit committee was looking for more collateral from Jason Hospitality. They didn't want to just rely on the building itself, the property in Torrington itself. So Attorney Milazzo, who not only is an attorney for them, he seems to also be, you know, somehow connected, maybe from a business perspective. He also has a business relationship with them. And he called me this afternoon and indicated that that had happened. They were asking for more collateral, and he expected to hopefully have that in place within the next 3 to 4 days, and ideally prior to the next court date on July 23rd.
Okay.
Our intent on July 23rd is to not give them any more time voluntarily. So that doesn't mean that the court might not step in and give them more time. But it's from the city's perspective, we're pretty much at the end of our rope with them, so we'll see what happens. The only other, real big thing is the Pitts and Piggies case. Do you know about that one?
Yeah.
So the latest on that is apparently the woman who's running this shelter on the Newfield Road has made arrangements with a property owner in New Hartford to take the pigs. And the last information we got, Caitlin Neal confirmed with that gentleman that yes, he has the acreage and yes, he will take the pigs. And they were building structures and setting up a water source for the pigs. We don't have a deadline yet of when they're going to be moved. But that would be the ideal thing to do, because if we do have to go in and remove them ourselves, there's a lot of moving pieces that have to fall into place for that. It would really be a tough task, so.
New title.
Excuse me?
Yeah,
New title.
Corporation Council, pig mover.
Yeah,
And we're talking about 56 at this location.
yeah. It's been a real experience dealing with these folks, because when we were in court the last time, the information that we had based on observations of our folk were that there were only 14 pigs. And then finally, the woman who's running the place gave Caitlin a list of all the pigs, because that's what Caitlin asked for. I want to know the pigs, the breed, the sex of the pig, and how much they weigh. And she gives us this list that had 56 pigs on it. And so the comment was made, well, gee, when we were in court, you said there were only 14. And the response was, no, you said there were only 14. Nobody asked me how many there were. And she was correct. We didn't. But anyway, hopefully that'll resolve itself. We're just pretty active. There's a couple of things. There's the Kazmarchik House on Prospect Street that I'm waiting for Judge Rohrback to issue a decision on a motion for judgment that I filed. That was about 2 months ago now. Technically, under the rules for Superior Court judges, he has 120 days to make a decision. I can't for the life of me understand what's taking him so long, but there's not a lot I can do about that except sit and wait. There's a property on Park Avenue that we've been actively in litigation with on that. The big problem there was there's a tenant who apparently is responsible for a lot of the problems and has been uncooperative. The owner now has an attorney who has started an eviction proceeding. Ashley Clement got an email from that person who expressed some upset that nobody reached out to them. And it sounds maybe like we can get some kind of an agreement. I plan to reach out to the attorney, it's Attorney Salerno tomorrow, and say, he represents the homeowner, that it sounds like this tenant is blaming you, you're blaming them, but maybe between all of you, we can agree that the city can go in and clean up and remediate the blight and put a lien on the property for that. So we're hoping to resolve that. That also, we're due back in court, I think, on the 29th on that one.
Okay.
Maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know.
So what I can do also to put a little more meat on the bones with this report is we can have Ashley Clement do prepare a report and present it to the council. You know, there are over 175 blight cases that she has been managing. She is doing an amazing job. She's also collected just shy of $300,000 in blight fines. Those fines actually are funding a lot of the legal fees for the Yankee Peddler Inn and some of these other cases that go to litigation. So we can certainly do a more robust report. And I think part of that report, as I'm reflecting on the earlier request about what do we do with these funds once we collect them, much like the cannabis revenue, you know, what's the process for deciding how these should be expended? I think there are some really good ideas as to how we can use those funds. And the council might want to think about, you know, what's a reasonable way to benefit the community as a whole for these property owners that are neglectful or willfully not taking care of their properties. So we can work on that. Now that the budget is put behind us, it's a little bit easier for us to pick up a project like that and bring it back to the council.
That'd be great.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Oliver.
I'm just curious about the Yankee Peddler collateral situation. As you know, I speak banker.
You do.
What, Judge, if you could, did the other council provide any indication of what the collateral shortfall is?
No.
Or how
No, he didn't.
much?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
But the loan they're looking for is $5 million. Property appraised as is, and you know, I think that both the TDC and the Blight Task Force have some questions about this, but it appraised as is, and Mayor can correct me if I'm wrong, one point something million, I can't remember what. And then it appraised, if completed as an operating hotel, something like $10 million.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Well,
mean, it
and the
could it be that-
appraisal, they actually had there's a company that specializes in reviewing appraisals of hotel properties, and they ran it
Yep.
by that company that agreed with the appraisal, so. But no, he didn't indicate to me what the shortfall, you know, was.
Yeah, it's sizable. It's got to be sizable because clearly they can't collateralize the building to support the mortgage. That there's just no way. It's just interesting. So I'm just trying to figure out, you know, whether or not this deal that they have with the bank is a viable one, or is this a delay tactic that we are saddled with yet again, and we have a pimple on the nose of the face of this town that should be a gem.
We would agree, yes. So I know the conversation that Judge Magistrelli and I were having this afternoon is, you know, what is our approach going into this hearing next Tuesday? You know, obviously, they being Jason Hospitalities, is supposed to respond to the bank's request for additional collateral.
Yeah.
They seemed to indicate that they had a few days to do that, and they certainly hoped that they would have it done by the 23rd. But our position is, unless they come in with the commitment that they were instructed to come in with 6 months ago, that our position is it's time for the judge to award the receivership and allow Torrington Development Corporation to do the work that they can do to move this project along.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really ridiculous. This has gone on a decade. And if not more, you know, I kind of know some of the players involved in this because of my prior background, but you know, there's got to be a way for us to stop this. You know, we have gone above and beyond. The city has gone above and beyond here to the point where I just wonder if we even, I don't know how effective we look right now as an organization dealing with this situation. And again, I understand the law, I understand banking, I understand everything that's involved and in play here, but when is the line finally crossed now that we've drawn the line in the ground 14 times over 10 years? Where does it stop?
Well, our plan is it stops next week.
Okay, fair.
Right.
Okay.
One way or
Well,
the other.
and you know, and I would even say
Well, it's gotta come to
our
an end.
line, yeah, that line was drawn last June, was June 25th, when we
Right.
were in at trial. You know, we were in trial, and you know, and that was a clear indication that the city wanted the judge to make this decision and award the receivership. You
Mhm.
know, we are unfortunately stuck with a, you know, a judicial decision.
Yeah.
So if a judge and, you know, and there were certain stipulations that were put into place at that time when the judge rendered their decision. They
Yeah.
had until February to do what that was the, you know, unconditional commitment was the stipulation. And they came in without it.
Yep.
And the judge said, let's give them 90 more days. And that brought us to June. And then, you know, and then it's, well, I have COVID and I can't, you know, I can't come to a hearing today. So
Well, that's my
I
point.
do,
It's been
yeah,
paid-
I do feel the city is doing everything we can to keep this thing moving, but to the extent that the judicial system is not there with us is disheartening, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, and it's obvious to every taxpayer in Torrington that the judicial system is working against our collective best interests and not in our best interests collectively as a community. So I'm just wondering at one point, and as Judge Magistrelli had said, next week we have a line in the sand. If it's crossed, I'm really hoping that we'll be able to move forward and actually do something meaningful and tactile.
Well, the proceeding that's docketed for next week is a hearing,
Mhm.
a fact hearing. It's not just a status conference.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and the facts really for us, and Attorney Nelligan, who's doing the litigation for us, and I both agreed that as far as we're concerned, it's really pretty simple. Judge Pickard already decided that a receiver should be appointed.
Right.
And the only reason it hasn't happened yet is the question of when.
Yep.
And we are saying the time is now.
Yep.
And yeah, so unless they come in with a commitment by the morning of the hearing, then we're gonna hold the judge's feet to the fire. We don't know which judge it's going to be now. We know it's not going to be Judge Rohrbach. He recused himself, but
Yep.
not, you know, we won't know really till we get there who the judge will be assigned to this case.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're
I just-
planning to play hardball.
I think it's about time that we do, because it's a tragedy that this building sits in the condition that it is, knowing that it's such a historic, you know, meaningful building to our town and our community, and I just want to see it move forward. That's all.
And
It's about, we just need to take what's rightfully ours and stop playing games with someone who doesn't care about us at all and looks at this as a game. That's all I got.
I think in terms of what the city has done, they have been playing hardball, and being a member of the Torrington Development Corporation, who would be the receiver of this property, is ready, you know, and we've been ready. And certainly there are some great members of that TDC that are, you know, so I think we've been playing hardball. I don't mean to challenge you, but it's.
No, I
you know,
disagree, Ann. I
judicial
completely
system,
disagree.
sometimes you
I'm
gotta
sorry,
go
I
with the
disagree.
flow. Yeah.
I just completely disagree. I mean, yes, we've done what we need to do in order to stay in the flow of this process. And I do not mean to disrespect or disregard or minimize the efforts of anyone involved at the Torrington at the Torrington Developmental Corporation or whatever, because I know that, I know the work and the sweat and the tears and the blood that goes into all of that. But it's just, we've been on this train for so long. It just needs to come to an end, and we need conclusion. And if you were saying that this process will bring it to conclusion, then I'm 100% for it and can't wait to see it actually come to conclusion. But, we're on like our 12th down right now, and something has to happen or we need to give the ball up. My opinion alone.
I don't think you'll find any of us disagreeing. Yeah.
No, I know.
We're all at the end of our rope on this one.
Yep.
And it should be said, it could be put out there, the judge could very well deny us.
Exactly. So what do we do then? Like, what kind of hardball are we really going to play?
Well, the good news is we continue to fine them for the blighted conditions. So we just bring a different action. We'll bring them an action for those blight fines that have been accruing for this entire period.
Okay.
So, we're our finger is, on the pulse of this issue. We're not, all our eggs aren't in that one basket. However, it's always tricky when you're dealing with the court system.
No doubt.
And,
No
and property owners' rights, any judge is always treading very carefully because you're talking about a property owner's rights. That's why we brought in a constitutional attorney so
Yep.
that we were well prepared for those debates.
Yep.
But yeah, Tuesday, we're going in with the mindset that, here's everything the judge asked them to do, and they failed to produce, including the scaffolding issues. So,
Yeah.
I hear you, and I share your disappointment and frustration.
Well, I'm sorry, it's just one of those conversations that comes up fairly frequently in the circles that
time.
we swim in,
Yes.
and God willing, everything will work out the way that it's supposed to, along the lines of the plans and processes you've all labored to put in place. However, if the judge rules differently, we have to start changing our tactics, because after this amount of time, we need to do something differently. That's all. And I'll stop this now. I'm infringing upon other people's time. I apologize that, and thank you for the time.
No, that's fine. I appreciate it. All right, so that was Councilwoman Spino, who said you had a couple of things, and all you asked for was Blake.
I have one more. On a different subject is the closure of Stop and Shop on High Street.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
The concern of the residents in that area that rely on that grocery store. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. So, communication is always disappointing when I'm hearing that a major employer and a major retailer in the municipality is shutting their doors through social media. So I'm sitting in my office Friday morning, I receive a text message with a copy of a Facebook post. First thing I did was pick up the phone and call the Stop and Shop manager on High Street. She did confirm for me that, yes, they will be closing in first week of November or sooner. I then asked to speak with somebody from corporate headquarters. That person returned the call probably 90 minutes later. I had a protracted telephone conversation with her and expressed all the same concerns that all of you would be hearing. This is the only grocery store in the west/south end of the city of Torrington, where most of our multifamily residents exist, where a large percentage of the people, including the elderly that live in the Torrington Towers or Laurel Acres or Willow Gardens, rely on bus transportation to get to a grocery store or they are walking to a grocery store. I shared with her my concern about some of the employees at that Stop and Shop that I also know do not have vehicles or driver's licenses and also walk to work. The concerns that I had seemed to be falling on deaf ears. The answer that I got was the decision has been made that the East Main Street store is more productive than this store. And they're closing 32 stores in Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. I think there was one more New England state. My next call went to the owner of the plaza. Obviously, the concern that I would have is, you know, how are they going to fill that vacant space? And is it possible we can work with them to attract another grocery store? Certainly the infrastructure with freezers and other layout positions it quite nicely for another grocery store. I also reached out to the Northwest Transit District because, again, my concern is how are these people that are walking back and forth to this grocery store going to be able to get to Big Y or Price Right? I think it's called Price Right. Or get up to the top of East Main Street to do their shopping. How are the employees that I know for a fact do not have a driver's license or a car, you know, and have been employed at this location for decades, going to get to work? You know, she assured me nobody was losing a job. They were going to find another location for them on the East End. So Northwest Transit, the director and myself and the board chair had a quick conversation on Friday. They're already working out route adjustments as a stopgap measure, but we have a little bit of work to do. I met with William Wallach, our economic development director, this morning, and he has some ideas as well. But we're getting right on it. And again, very disappointing to have to learn about something like this in social media. But I think that I even heard it before some of the employees heard it, and those employees are not happy.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Iveyne.
I believe Dave Oliver's restaurant is open, the reopening of Cravings.
You're welcome.
That's good news.
Come on down, Steve.
So it's very convenient for me, so I hope to frequent that often. So thank you, Dave,
You're welcome.
for springing that on us. So other than that, I just have the same concerns about Stop and Shop, just that stores, large spaces in that plaza have been vacant for years now. So it's a concern in that, you know, area that it's not being reoccupied. So, which is disappointing, but maybe we could focus on busing services and see how we could, you know, arrange people to move around to the closest stores. So, thank you.
Sure. Mr. Waldron, anything?
Nothing from me, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, we'll move into item 23. I'll open the meeting to the public for comment on agenda items only, please.
No move.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron, second by Councilwoman Spino. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? We're open to the public on agenda items. Seeing none, I'm going to move into item 24. There being no business before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Spino, second by Councilman Iveyne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
You know what I think is, just, so you know where Pat's Bazaars was on Princeton Road? You see what's going on there? Food mart.
Oh.
Next to the old